And in verse, let me read this to you in chapter 10, verse 27. Just so you know where it came from. It says, and the king made silver as common in Jerusalem as stone. He made cedar as plentiful as the sycamores of Shephelah. He made silver as common as stone. Wow. He boosted, by building God's temple and putting God first, he boosted the morality, he boosted the economy, he boosted the people of Israel. He lifted them up by lifting up God. He knew that God was most important, that God was the center of his life, that God was the one worth following. And putting all this energy in. And because he put God first, everything else around him flourished. And Jerusalem was prosperous. Israel was respected. Israel was at peace. It got to the point, not only did Solomon pay attention to the physical aspects, but he paid attention to the spiritual aspects. In chapter 8 of 1 Kings, it says he brought the ark into the temple. And God, the rest of this chapter is Solomon praying to God, asking him to bless the temple, bless what he did, to bless the house, to redeem all of Israel. And he dedicated everything that he did to his Lord. And in chapter 9, God responds. And he says, as soon as Solomon had finished building the house of the Lord and the king's house. By the way, if you notice something, if you're reading through this, if you ever read 1 Kings, and I recommend reading it, Solomon built God's house before he built his. That's how important it was. King's palace is one of the most important buildings. But he said, no, the temple is more important. Let's build that. Then we'll build my house. And it was a blessing. And chapter 9 says, verse 2, the Lord appeared to Solomon a second time as he appeared to him at Gibeon. And the Lord said, I have heard your prayer and your plea, which you made before me. I've consecrated this house that you built by putting my name there forever, ever. My eyes and my heart will be there for all time. As for you, I will walk. If you will walk before me as David, your father, walked with integrity of heart and uprightness, doing according to all that I have commanded, and keeping my statutes and my rule, then I will establish your throne over Israel forever. As I promised David for your father, saying, you shall not lack a man on the throne of Israel. If you put me first, if you continue to walk in my ways, I will bless you immensely. However, there's always that big B word in verse 6. But if you turn aside from my following me, you or your children, and do not keep my commandments and my statutes that I have set before you, but go and serve other gods and worship them, then I will cut off Israel from the land that I've given them and the house that I've consecrated. For my name will be cast out of my sight, and Israel will become a proverb, a byword among the peoples. And his house will become a heap of ruins. Everyone passing by it will be astonished and hiss, and they will say, why has the Lord done thus to this land, to this house? Then they will say, because they abandoned the Lord their God, who brought their fathers out of the land of Egypt, and laid hold on other gods, and worshipped and served them. Therefore the Lord has brought all this disaster on them. You follow me, I will bless you. You go against me, you worship other gods, well then you're out of luck. You're destroyed. You're cast out. So here's what you got to understand about Solomon. This is what I don't understand about Solomon. Solomon had this wisdom. He had God's promise and God's conditions. And everything is going well. He's got people coming from right and left to talk to him. And then chapter 11 happens. Chapter 11, bankruptcy. I just didn't think of that until just now. I don't know why. But chapter 11 happens. And chapter 11 says, now, King Solomon loved many foreign women, along with the daughter of Pharaoh. Moabite, Ammonite, Edomite, Sidonian, Hittites, from the nations concerning with the Lord, I said to the people, you shall not enter into marriage with them, neither shall they with you, for surely they will turn your heart away from God. Solomon clung to these in love. He had a problem. He had 700 wives. 700 wives! Good Lord, there's only 365 days in a year. How does he do that? I don't want to know. 300 concubines. 300 concubines. That's 1,000 women. Good Lord. You know what they say about a man who's in a room full of women? Those of you who know, he's either in heaven or hell and he's never quite sure which. It's true. And he has 1,000 women. Jeez. And, of course, his wives turned away his heart. When Solomon was old, his wives turned away his heart after other gods, and his heart was not wholly true to the Lord his God, and his heart, as was the heart of David his father. He worshipped Ashtoreth, the goddess of the Sidonians, Milcom, the abomination of the Ammonites. So Solomon did what was evil in the sight of the Lord and did not wholly follow the Lord as David his father had done. Verse 9, and the Lord was angry with Solomon because his heart had turned away from the Lord, the God of Israel, who appeared to him twice, not just once, twice, and commanded him concerning this thing, that he should not go after other gods. But he did not keep what the Lord commanded. And God said, since this has been your practice, I'm going to tear your kingdom apart. But since you walked with me this long, I'm not going to do it while you're on the throne, but after you get off the throne, after you die, your sons are going to split the kingdom in two. I don't know what happened. Solomon got other loves in his way. The wisest man in the world got turned away by 700 women. Some guys, it doesn't take that many. Some guys, it only takes one or two, maybe three. It was usually just one. And he turned his heart to other gods. He did the exact thing that God told him not to do. And the wisest man in the world, the guy who wrote most of the book of Proverbs, who wrote Ecclesiastes, who wrote the Song of Solomon, beautiful poem, a love story between him and one of his wives. I don't know which one. Don't ask. I can't tell you. I haven't even read that book yet. I'm not. 492. Why 492? Yeah. Okay. And he still praised as a wise man who did one foolish thing. And he turned his heart away from the God that he put first in his life. And it all came crumbling down. Trying to find wisdom or trying to find life from someone else. Solomon. God loved him. He loved God. He did a lot of good things for his country, for his nation, for the world, for his God. But he did the one thing God told him not to do. You see that time and time again in the Bible. God says, if you follow me, I will bless you. If you put your heart on my ways, on my path, I will be with you. But the moment you turn away, if you follow other gods, then I'm out. And you have to suffer consequences. God doesn't ask for much, does he? He says, love me with all your heart, mind, and soul and strength. He says, love your neighbor as yourself. And if Solomon had turned back to God, we saw it happen with David, right? When David and Bathsheba incident, he killed Uriah. He had children with somebody else's wives, and he said, forgive me, God, and God forgave him and set him on his right path. We don't see Solomon saying, God, forgive me. Solomon says, okay, I'm sorry. He just kept going. And because of Solomon's turning from God's path and following after other gods, his country is split in two. Take the advice, take the example of Solomon. Live your life with wisdom. Hold to the wisdom of God. Don't know where to get the wisdom of God? Well, here it is. God said, ask for it. I'll give it to you. Don't know how to live your life for Christ? He says, ask me, I'll show you. Love me, follow me, and I'll be with you. That's what we can take out of the life of Solomon.